June 1666, off the coast of England, two of the world's most powerful navies are about to collide. This is the story of the 4 Days Battle, a brutal, relentless clash that would redefine naval warfare. It wasn't just a contest of firepower, it was a test of human endurance, leadership, and the very structure of command itself. Day 1 dawns with an illusion of order. The English and Dutch fleets, magnificent arrays of wooden fortresses, sail towards each other in perfect battle lines. Hundreds of ships, thousands of cannons, and tens of thousands of men are poised for a decisive engagement. The initial volleys are thunderous, a disciplined exchange of iron and fire. But the sea is a harsh mistress, and the tidy formations soon begin to fray. On the decks, the reality of 17th century naval combat sets in. A cannonball isn't just a projectile. It's a force of nature. It doesn't just punch a hole. It rips through thick oak planks, sending a hurricane of lethal splinters scything across the gun deck. Men are torn apart. The air fills with the screams of the wounded, the sharp crack of shattering timber, and the constant, deafening roar of the guns. The first ships are taking a terrible beating. Masts, as thick as ancient trees, splinter and crash down, tangling rigging and sails into a helpless mess. Hulls, once thought impenetrable, begin to flex and groan under the ceaseless pounding. Water starts to pour in through breaches below the waterline. This is the moment where an ordinary battle might see ships retreat to lick their wounds. But not here, not today. Captains, driven by pride and iron-willed orders, refuse to disengage. Sailors, their hands raw and bleeding, desperately try to plug the leaks, stuffing cloth, bits of sail, even their own clothing into the gaps as the cold North Sea rushes in. This is no longer a battle of tactics, it has become a sheer test of will. As the sun sets on the first day, the sea is a chaotic canvas of crippled but defiant warships. The lines are broken, but the fight is far from over. Day brings a new kind of crisis. The relentless firing has consumed mountains of gunpowder. On ship after ship, a terrifying message spreads from the gun crews to the officers. The powder barrels are running empty. The logistical strain of supplying a fleet in the midst of such an intense, prolonged battle is showing. The cannons, the primary weapons of these floating castles, begin to fall silent. But silence is not surrender. In a desperate bid to keep fighting, crews resort to improvisation. They scour their ships for anything that can be fired from a cannon. Chain shot, bar shot, even metal scraps and debris are rammed down the barrels. They are no longer aiming for precision. They are just trying to make a noise, to show the enemy they are still in the fight, to cause any damage they can. This breakdown of supply chains creates a breakdown in command. Officers on the gun decks argue, their faces blackened with powder, their voices hoarse. Messengers, often young boys, try to navigate the chaos, slipping on blood-slicked decks and dodging falling debris to carry orders from the quarterdeck. But with smoke so thick it blocks out the sun, and the noise a constant, disorienting wall of sound, many messages never reach their destination. Commanders on the flagships can no longer be sure if their signals are seen, or if their subordinate captains even have the means to obey them. When the guns fall silent, chaos finds its voice. The organized structure of the fleet is dissolving into a series of isolated, desperate struggles for survival. By day 3, the battle has devolved into something primeval. The fight is no longer about sinking the enemy, but about simply outlasting them. Ships that are little more than burning, waterlogged wrecks refuse to strike their colors. Surrender is not an option. Fires rage on deck, ignited by stray sparks or flaming projectiles. The smoke is choking, blinding everyone. Crews battle the flames even as they continue to battle the enemy. The decision to abandon ship becomes a grim calculation. Men will not leave their posts until the sea itself forces them out. They continue to man the guns even as water sloshes around their ankles, then their knees. The ship is dying beneath them, but their duty holds them fast. Only when the water reaches the gun carriages, making it impossible to fire, do they finally begin to retreat from the lower decks. The fighting becomes brutally intimate. Crippled ships drift into each other, their hulls grinding together. The final volleys are fired at point-blank range, a last, defiant roar before the end. The camera is tight, shaking, mirroring the claustrophobia and disorientation of the men. There is no clear view, no strategic overview, just smoke, fire, and the terrifying immediacy of wood cracking and water rushing in. They fought until the sea claimed the ship. The fourth and final day reveals the ultimate truth of this battle. Amidst the floating wreckage and sinking hulks, a stark contrast emerges. On the Dutch side, commanders like Mitchell de Ruyter have managed to maintain a semblance of control. Through sheer force of will and brilliant seamanship, they rally their damaged ships, reform their lines, and execute organized maneuvers. Orders are given, and against all odds, they are obeyed. They conduct disciplined retreats, protecting their most damaged vessels and preserving their force. The English fleet, however, has become fragmented. Command has broken down. In the absence of clear orders, or the inability to execute them, individual captains make their own desperate choices. Some fight on with suicidal bravery, while others attempt to flee in uncontrolled, panicked flights. The difference is stark. One side is still a fleet, the other is a collection of survivors. We see the contrast in the commanders themselves. A calm gesture from a Dutch admiral, pointing to a new course, is met with the frantic, panicked reactions on the deck of a shattered English ship. Leadership endured where order survived. It wasn't about who had the bigger guns or the stronger hulls. In the end, it was the resilience of the command structure that made the difference between a fighting force and a scattered mob. In the long and brutal history of naval warfare, it's a lesson learned time and again. Ships do not fail, first command does. As dawn breaks after the fourth day, a chilling silence finally falls over the sea. The surviving ships of both fleets are barely afloat, their masts shattered, their hulls riddled with holes, their crews exhausted beyond human limits. Officers stand on their quarterdecks, their fine coats torn and stained, staring out at the grim tableau of wreckage and the vast, empty patches of water where their comrades' ships went down. There are no victory cheers, no celebrations. There is only the quiet, grim reality of what they have endured. For the thousands of men lost and the dozens of ships sent to the bottom, survival was the only victory. Thanks for watching. If you want to dive deeper into the brutal realities of history, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. See you in the next one.